The retired 63-year-old military police officer wanted to show the brutal impact of the coronavirus to millions of people at his home. In the first episode of Ross Kemp's ITV documentary On the Front Lines, which aired 2 weeks ago, viewers saw Paul taken to a room by doctors. Paul was admitted to the hospital with breathing difficulties and put on oxygen, not a ventilator, and wanted to show how cruel the virus can be. After the shooting, the brave soldier unfortunately lost his battle with COVID-19 after having fought until the end. Paying homage to the great man, Ross says, in the last episode of the show that aired 2 weeks ago, a very brave man by the name of Paul Breeze, who had been in the military all his life, asked us tea. Unfortunately a fighter until the end, he lost this fight and died as many did. But I just want to say a huge thank you to him for being so brave and allowing us to show the impact of this terrible virus. In accordance with carefully arranged access with the NHS, Ross enters the hospital to find out how frontline staff are doing. Ross and his team carry the PPE given to them by the hospital, which is then replaced by the production team, so no supply to the NHS has been cut. The safety of all concerned is paramount and the privacy of all patients is respected. Number 8211, those of the documentary agreeing to be filmed. Ross and the film crew follow and adhere to strict guidelines when talking to NHS staff and patients. The presenter also meets with the team who generally handle complaints at the hospital, but discovers that their role has radically changed. They now manage the mountain of mail that is sent to patients by family and friends who cannot visit them due to social distancing. To minimize any possible risk, the letters are retyped and laminated before being sprayed with disinfectant. Julie Goodman, head of counseling and patient liaison, says, "The letters we receive, we cry every day, because they are so emotional, and probably the things people say about those letters. They wouldn't say face to face in all cases also. We get people to write poems, some say prayers, scriptures, or just letters about what grandchildren do." Elsewhere, Dr. Hamid Manji gives a revealing glimpse of how ventilators can actually cause lung damage that is already severely compromised as a result of COVID-19. The anesthetist consultant explains, "I think the ventilators can work. Because some people survive," says Dr. Manji, before explaining his fears. But the reality is that the longer you stay on ventilation, especially with the COVID lung, which is a very damaged lung, the lower the survival rate. The ventilator can also damages the lungs. This saves us time for the patient to exceed COVID, so ventilation itself is not a natural thing. The pressure damage causes the lungs to become inflamed. And that's in addition to the inflammation the body causes as it tries to fight COVID. Dr. Manji admits that they cannot tell the difference between those people who will do well with a fan and those who will not. He also requests that the locking measures be extended to avoid a second wave of viruses. The doctor adds, the reality is that as the lock releases, it is very likely that we will have another push or another spike. This is a concern for me, absolutely, because the lock is loosening and people start to mix again. There is this risk. So I think the message is still the same. Even if the lock is released, you have to be safe, have some distance. Read more coronavirus self-isolating hacks. You have to make sure you don't shake hands. You should use your handkerchiefs, grab them and put them away. Wash your hands and watch out for surfaces you don't know. Despite the fact that the team is working so hard on each patient, trying to improve them. Despite all of this, we are seeing a very high mortality rate, a mortality rate. Ross Kemp, on the NHS Frontline will be broadcast this evening at 8:30 p.m. on ITV.